Welcome to the future. Welcome to Bitcoin Bit2Meros on this special day, March 13th, 2024, where we have prepared a program dedicated to all of you, to the community who have been asking us for a long time. And for that, nothing more and nothing less, Neil is going to be present with each and every one of us. Certainly, Giovanni and Jose will be responsible. Primarily, I would like to extend my greetings to both of you. How are you doing, Giovanni? How are you, Neil?
Hey, honestly, it's a pleasure to be here. Very excited because I know the whole community was really looking forward to this B2M and Space Center special, because it's not something we say we're going to tell the community, but something we've heard, and we're going to bring a lot of answers and interesting things.
What's up, Neil?
How are you?
Good afternoon. Excited to be here with all of you. Also happy. Worked hard on B2M and Space Center for the past few months. Exhausted, but proud. And I love being able to, communicate everything we're going to do.
Well, listen, great. Prior to starting, we want to greet all of you watching the live stream, and we notice you saying hello in the chat. No problem. Luis, Elvi, Gonzalo, Ma, Rosie, Garay, thank you very much for always joining us whenever we do a show. We truly appreciate your consistent support and dedication. And at this present time, more than ever before, as Giovanni mentioned in this special report from Space Center and from B2M, where we are going to carry out a brief balance. Now, Neil will break it down for us, but out of everything that has occurred this year, what we're working on and what's coming up, which is a lot, I don't want to wait too long. I also don't want to beat around the bush. Neil, today you are the star 100%, because there is also a spectacular team effort behind with everything you guys are doing. So if you want, let's start with the presentation you've prepared for this show and proceed.
Yes, thanks, Javier. The idea is to present the points. As you can see here, we'll divide into 3 groups, which is how this first year of Space Center has been, this anniversary. Then we'll discuss the news from Space Center. And let's conclude with the most recent updates from B2M. We have 3 significant ones and then a few smaller ones. The point is to explain, to go very slowly, so that everything is understood. But of course, as we've said, any doubts you may have, we'll be responding to the comments. But it is true that there are a lot of things. We wanted to prepare a really cool live stream in terms of news, so we can't stop too much. We must keep commenting, and we'll resolve any doubts as we go.
Awesome. Just wanted to tell you all to start leaving all the questions about what Neil is going to share with us, about what he's going to explain to us. If there's any point that you do not have 100% clear, and you want Giovanni or me to pick up that question and ask it to Neil, well, we would be happy to, right?
So let's go for it. What do you think?
You got it. He's going to go by, let's say, by themes. Let's give him some time in case he has any clarifying questions, but that's it. We'll be attentive.
Perfect. Well, let's get started. The first thing that Space Center is, for those who don't know it too well, is a civilization program that was born a year ago because we saw that the B2M tier system wasn't giving us users the B2M utility we wanted. In other words, not all token holders or most of token holders were benefiting from this tier system, and we wanted a system that they would really benefit from, and that, above all, would not be affected by market fluctuations. And that is the place where we are going to develop a system where we also believe that the typical operations and actions of a platform user should be rewarded. And that's where the proposal came up, that we launch a project and a system in which B2M continues to be the main lever, and we will discuss it again later about that system, but also incorporate those user actions that the platform does to reward them and give them what we have in a points format. That those points provide you with levels, and those levels provide you with benefits throughout the B2M platform, and that after this live stream, we will observe how, because yes, we conclude that circle of both services and products that have benefits linked to Space Center. So let's start with a little reflection on the adoption of Space Center, and above all, the impact it has had on B2M, which is what matters most to us. As I was saying, it basically emerged to enhance B2M, not to discourage or diminish its importance by adding other emissions, but on the contrary, to give it even more importance. How do we see it? Well, we see that on average, token holders now hold 50% more B2M than before. These are averages and medians, so some cases have decreased more and some cases have increased more, but the average is that. So it's a very favorable point in terms of seeing the usefulness of acquiring and maintaining B2M. Also, in terms of conversion to B2M holders, we see that there is a higher ratio of holders compared to users. In the end, both this point and the fact that we have had half the time to become a token holder. I mean, if before a person or a regular B2M user took, well, I don't know, a month to become a token holder, now the average is 2 weeks, okay? We have divided that time in half. Additionally, there is a greater ratio of token holders in comparison to the total number of users on the platform.
Neil, in that line, I find the idea of a higher ratio interesting because we've seen an increase in B2M holders in the past few weeks too. And even a portion of the community, for instance, in the Telegram group, is participating in that update. Among them, for instance, Shaggy has been sending us the update on the new B2M holders. In fact, where can those B2M holders observe the rise in B2M holders? They can find it on the official B2M website.
You got it. Yeah, it's true that in the end, we come from a bear market phase where the influx of users hasn't been massive like it used to be in previous market cycles. We've prepared the system well so that currently, as you point out, these recent weeks, it's noticeable that it has increased. Basically, it's not that we've made big changes, it's more users joining the platform. And it's done in a way that at the Space Center level, it looks like the utility of B2M has existed from a very small contribution like these, for example, the first 20 euros to fulfill the first B2M mission. And from there, the user already sees the potential it has, the utility that B2M has, and starts adopting it with their portfolio in their balance on a regular basis. Also, to wrap up this adoption part, we see that 9 times more token holders have benefited. With the tier system we had, let's say 10 token holders were benefiting. Now, in the new system, 90 token holders have benefited. Token holders who didn't benefit before, due to not reaching tiers, now benefit from the tokens they possess. Finally, a brief summary of some of the rewards that have been provided for Space Center. More than 200,000 euros have been given in terms of commission bonuses for the Space Center level. And they have also given more than 100,000 euros in B2M format in cashback from car. Remember, it's a B2M bought on the market. It's a B2M, like when you buy, we got it from the market to give away. Due to doubts about its source from the company's reserves, which is incorrect. And to conclude this point, we'll address the 2 main doubts and concerns raised by the community when we launched Space Center. What it was, the first one, I don't know if you remember, but those of you who were tiered, you were allowed a year of legacy, let's say, in terms of wallet bonuses for your tier. In other words, even if you possessed a level 4, if you possessed a tier 3 from the previous system, we were going to retain those commission bonuses for a duration of 1 year. And here the doubt was, wow, when this year ends, let's see how many people will be in a worse position and get angry. In this case, the answer is that over 99% of users from the old tier system have willingly and actively switched to the Space Center because they have benefited from the leveling system. Maybe not the first month, maybe not the second month, but as they have been operating in B2Me, they have been taking actions and acquiring even more B2M. Yes, they have benefited and actively made that change and said no at Space Center.
Regarding that, Neil, if there's someone from the remaining 1% who wishes to make a change at this time, are they still able to do so?
No, of course. The issue is that when the month ends, everyone will be part of Space Center.
Not a decision. Year must have ended, had leeway. Point is, this 99 is not any 99, it's a 99 with numbers, but sounded better to say 99. And we're discussing fewer than 100 individuals. There are very few people left in the tier system. And when analyzing their behavior, we see that they also lack any activity on the platform, so they are not interested in or find any use for the discount we provide them through the tier system. And as a secondary concern, the issue of mission expiration was also raised. We were wondering if you have now assigned us these retroactive missions and they are fulfilled retroactively, what will happen when the 12 months have passed? Will many of my missions expire? The goal here was for users to complete those missions before they expire as part of their usual operations. And indeed, this is what has occurred. Fewer than 5% of the total number of users who are presently at the Space Center will experience any impact due to the expiration of missions that can be adjusted to their maximum level. It's also important that only one level be adjusted, it's because of that expiration, to a few users, 5%, and above all, we're talking about users at level 3 or lower. There are probably less than 10 users who are at a level higher than 3 and can see their adjusted level without taking into account the new missions we will launch in the short term, which of course will help you to complete missions again and earn more points. to avoid losing exploration points or even increase your current level, since we also implement them retroactively for 12 months, as we have done before this year. Space Center is born to boost the B2M, and I think there are like 3 big factors that make that a reality. One thing is that B2M is the only mission, the one of buying and maintaining in B2M, that enables automatic progression from level 0 to level 7 without needing or depending on any other mission. In other words, if the system that seems most comfortable to you is the previous tier system, that is the one where I purchase B2M and you place me, you have the ability to do it. And now we will see the upcoming improvements in the next few weeks, not to say next week if I am not mistaken, but let us give it a few weeks leeway. You will have a concept called Fast Track, where you can click on that banner and find out the exact B2M you should buy at that moment with your specific case, with your points number, with your balance number, so you can reach the level you want. So people who prefer the usual tier system can continue using it without any issues, as it's the only mission that permits such usage.
Great, as it's something that many had also asked about. They suggested what they could do to move on to the next level. And the thing you're referring to is precisely what they desire to have.
The idea is, what Neil has explained is, I can earn points by completing a series of objectives, missions, but if I want to progress much faster to achieve much higher benefits, then what I have is B2M to boost, to scale in a much more direct way. That's the idea. And also what he has commented, well, what Giovanni was also saying, right? You should have some kind of indicator there that shows how many B2M I need to reach the next level. That's awesome.
Got it. Not just as a booster, but also at a level, well, with the new calculator we've launched, which we'll mention now, so unfamiliar people can access B2M website, B2M landing page. And there's a calculator there, at the Space Center, where you can input about your planned activity at the Space Center and see points and levels. There you can see how mathematically it is impossible to reach level 4 or higher without B2M. I mean, it's no longer just any old enhancer. It's something you need in order to reach the highest levels of the Space Center, which is the goal. And we don't hide, on the contrary, we promote it, we push it, because that's why Space Center was born.
Right, and this calculator that was mentioned is on the website and also in the latest updates of the app. It's also in the Space Center section there in the 3 dots, the level calculator.
You got it.
I think we have it on screen, Jose. It's all there.
Exactly. Perfect. So let's proceed with our discussion.
We're still going. We're taking note of all the questions you're leaving. Don't worry, we're keeping track of them. And even though the video is recorded, since Giovanni has already answered, stay until the end because Nip brings us some really interesting things.
Next point. So what have we been up to during these past few weeks and what are we going to start rolling out? Since we're there, we've done it, let's say, we've been working on it for the coming weeks. This is very short term. Analyze point by point, briefly, what each item is. Initially on the left, we have the one to update calculations of Launchpad missions. This, as you can see above the title, is a contribution from the feedback channel, which later on we will emphasize more on what this channel is and its importance. Ultimately, it's a tool we use frequently, and we consistently feel we've had active listening from the community via Telegram and social media. But the feedback channel is a direct contact with the team. In other words, the proposals come directly to us as project leaders. And there we can analyze them and they can be discussed and debated with the users themselves. Well, this is just a case where it was proposed from the feedback channel to say, wow, since you haven't launched new Launchpad projects or haven't launched as frequently as you wanted, either due to market context or for whatever reason you found appropriate, I think the exploration of those missions should be able to be renewed or extended. We were completely in agreement here when we received it. So if you enter Space Center now on your Launchpad missions, you will see that the exploration has been renewed for another 12 months. So you should have 12 months left, or 11, 10, up to 13, if you still had some months left to expire. So we've already done this. Then, as we mentioned before, and as we've already seen on the website, we've developed the level calculator so that you, with that planned operation you may have, can calculate a bit what the expected level is within Space Center with the current missions. Also, a point we've covered, implementing the fast lane.
The fast track is just a shortcut. Like Javier said earlier, you can complete missions, use different products, but you might want to level up because you're interested in benefits, without meeting milestones and objectives.
Great. With B2M and Fast Track, you'll see it in Space Center product in a banner at the top. Both benefits and emissions parts are included. Click to find out B2M required for next level.
Very good.
Of the two required. We've also added dark mode. It's something you've been requesting for a while, and honestly, personally, I think it's a really cool design. What is remaining now, all dark and stuff, I believe it fits much better with the theme of space. Maybe it's something personal and subjective, but I think it has also turned out very interesting. We've also heard a whole lot of improvements throughout the year. I'm in the middle of the presentation, implementing upgrades in mission screens and completed missions. What does this mean? As we've said throughout this year, what we've done is listen a lot and make small improvements that we could. And I'm not even talking about new missions, new benefits like big features, but small improvements. Like, for example, saying, geez, I go to the completed mission section and I get lost with such a long list. Perfect. Well, what we've done is we've grouped it into different modules so that you can have packages of mission types. Wow, the thing is, I have no idea how much I have left to complete the missions because it tells me they expire in a month, and I don't know if I'm missing 800 out of these 1,000 euros traded, or if I'm missing 100, or if I'm missing 1,000. Great, we're creating a system where you tap and it tells you how much is left to complete the mission. And so different points we've heard, which were improvements in the Space Center, not crucial operational points, more specific details, but we want to optimize them to the fullest so that when this influx of new users for widespread crypto adoption occurs, anticipated in the coming months, everything is optimized, ensuring no doubts, no problems, and a seamless, organic experience.
Before you proceed, Neil, I'm reviewing questions people are asking.
We are going to respond to the majority of the questions during the live stream so that we do not overlook any of them. We are actively keeping a record of them, all right?
Perfect. I've stated it, let's make note, and if any are unanswered with the presentation, then we'll explore each later. I continue with the intermediate part, the last point below, in which a feedback contribution also told us, wow, just like in the Opera in wallet part and in the acquire and maintain B2M part, yes, we are talking about the fact that mission objectives reach very large goals. So I have a lot of room for improvement. I think in the case of Earn, it falls short. I believe rewards from Earn, missions fell short, could have been a bit more.
Here we were analyzing it. We saw that it could be true and that it made sense. So in the short term, we are also going to implement new Earn missions that will also have a retroactive character, of course, in which we are going to expand a little those objectives and the points, obviously, that we grant for those objectives also by request. And very linked to this.
And you've also mentioned retroactive, which a lot of people have said, maybe I missed it, but it's also going to help them, right?
Got it. If you finished the last mission a while ago, like the Earn typology, don't worry because everything you've generated since then still counts for the new milestones we'll add soon. Furthermore, closely linked to the mission of Earn, we also noticed a mission to add funds to Earn that had a specific expiration date. Apologies for the glitch. The mission should not have an expiration date as it simply deposits funds into Earn. So it's about eliminating the expiry date, and don't worry, there won't be any expiry on that mission. It's a one-time action. You add funds and that's it. That's all. And finally, the modification of the mission mechanics to the Space Center on a daily basis, which I implemented a few weeks ago. Basically, the fact that you have to actively enter and actively press solves some doubts that there were, either you're in or you're not in, but know that we are still attentive to the mechanics of this mission to see if we can make any other type of improvement that can make it even easier to fulfill. What I do want to emphasize here is that because sometimes I think that in some cases we lack a bit of perspective in terms of analyzing some points, and that is that this mission can give the user 500 points just for accessing Space Center. What's up? I grasped some annoyances, re-oysters, forgot to log in, think I haven't logged in, think I have logged in. Especially for technical failures, we offer quick response, always striving to enhance the system and address any arising issues. But damn, it's entering the Space Center with 500 points in the end.
You got it. In that line, some of the questions that Usulando asks us, for example, say that if the fact is raised that after 365 days, those points can be maintained, or that some extra points are given, that is, as we know right now, there is a maximum of 500 points for entering 30 consecutive days. So have you ever considered the idea that after 365 days, for example, you could give more points or something similar?
Of course, what is being proposed at the moment, giving more points, I doubt it, because as I say, 500 points is largely half a level. I mean, it's pretty important in terms of point weight within the system. But what is indeed considered at the time is to distribute those 500 points over many days. Okay, I'll give you a few points each day, but you have to log in for many days. Instead of doing that, what we consider more appropriate is I want to reward the user as soon as possible. I want to give them the points as soon as possible and have all the points in 30 days, but they have to keep coming back to maintain them. I mean, it's not like you have to spend a lot of time to get them anymore, but I'll give them to you soon, but keep coming in so you don't miss out. It's kind of the reflection we had when we launched it.
All right, to wrap that up, also remember that if at any point you've missed a day, all you have to do is keep logging in consecutively and you'll get those points again completely for free just by logging in consecutively without interruption.
You got it. They get a notification. That I admit is true. I usually don't arrive late because I have the habit of entering and all that at the same time every morning. But sometimes I do forget for some reason and I get that notification like, hey, don't forget to log in today to keep fulfilling this mission.
So we can also use that as a helping hand to keep that streak going. If there are no more doubts, let's move forward.
Continue on.
Excellent. This is highly important and deserves utmost attention.
We give even more importance to Space Center and B2M within the B2Me platform as the core that it is and will continue to be. Here we divide into three big groups that we're going to delve into point by point. The first one is the new exclusive benefits of Space Center on B2Me, CART, and referrals products, which we are now going to delve into.
Start from left, right, Neil. 3 products there, B2Me Pro, B2Me CART, and referrals, right?
Indeed. What will we do now in each of those points? The first one is B2Me Pro. What will we do with B2Me Pro? Well, with B2Me Pro, we will soon launch new Space Center missions that will give you points for the euros operated in Pro.
Just like we do with brokerage and wallet, we're going to do the same with Pro, okay?
That's going to be the Space Center mission linked to Pro. For those users who have Space Center, but who hadn't been incentivized in that product they use so much, well, now there is that point.
You said euros, Neil, but I understand that it's because of the amount of euros, right? If you trade in, for example, Cardano or B2M or another cryptocurrency, that will be the volume, right? The amount in euros currency?
Indeed. Thanks for noting, Javier. It's the same as the wallet. When it's time for you to operate, the volume is calculated in euros, and that's how you're scored. And in terms of benefits, it is also a replica to make it a little easier to understand the format with brokerage, which is that depending on the level you have some discounts on commissions in favor. Here we also have to emphasize that when implementing this, what we are doing is removing the current functionality of B2M, the payment of B2M, for the 25% discount on commissions. For 2 main reasons. One, because of the way this authority is being used. In other words, we see that users just don't seem to fully embrace this point as something that motivates them, because mainly we were told that they didn't want to use their B2M. They wanted to keep them to gain some kind of advantage.
So what we do is replace the advantages of using B2M with the advantages of acquiring and maintaining B2M. Got it?
And obviously we achieve discounts of over 25% with the levels. So it's a positive sum. In terms of cards, as you all know, those of you who are in Space Center and are token holders, we already have incentives and benefits linked to cards, which go up to a 9% cashback if we combine the use of B2M with level 7 of Space Center, which is fantastic, but we were missing that connection at the mission level. Well, we will also implement it, and essentially it will be in a cashback format. In this instance, we replicate a format very similar to Earn's mission, which is to receive rewards, but in this case, it is to receive cashback. There will be cashback objectives received. The bigger the box, the faster.
Sector also for payments you make, number of times you use it, amounts.
This is totally indifferent. That's why we let the user choose their own path. In other words, since what I do for you is reward you for the cashback received, you can receive that cashback because you make many small transactions or because you make very large transactions, but with low frequency. For example, it doesn't matter. All the cashback you receive will count towards this mission. And as I said before, but I think it's important to reaffirm it, both the PRO operation and the current letter operation and the received cashback will be retroactively considered for the last 12 months. When the mission is released, it's possible, not to say very likely, if you already use Cache as a base or use Pro, that you already have some of the mission objectives completed, so you already have points. We don't replace or remove any current missions, we just add more. We added more growth levers within the Space Center system. And lastly, the referrals. In other words, the referral system, currently those of you who already have it, well, you know how it works, which is basically referring a colleague, a family member to B2Me, they have an assigned reward. Our plan is to connect this system with the one from Space Center in order to maximize the benefits. The higher your level, the greater the rewards you will receive for inviting friends to B2Me. And with regards to missions, essentially, it will be determined by the number of friends you have invited within the B2Me platform. It's pretty straightforward in terms of operation. The more you invite, the more points you have. And the higher level you have, the more rewards you get for those invitations. Perfect.
Perfect. Well, the results of the previous survey, which have already come out more or less, it's quite evenly distributed, okay? The people who are watching it between 0 and 1, 25% between 2 and 3, 31% between 4 and 5, 18% and 67%, and 26%. Let's additionally conduct a survey, okay? In order to determine the number of individuals who are utilizing or recommending the referral service that we have available to offer.
If you want, go with the midpoint, the one that already has a bit in the middle of the presentation, which is benefits from companies and big accounts. And basically, we're not going to walk around much here, but I usually do a little introduction and reflection, which we had already implemented, but not so much publicly. And the thing is, the benefits we offer with Space Center by Levels and B2M Holding also apply to our corporate clients, although we don't really make a big fuss about it, but it's one of our important business lines. And also, for example, the part of B2Me Consulting, which is that part where we help develop projects and stuff, there are also discounts within those projects based on your level and your B2M holding. So it's important to note that Space Center goes beyond our customers, our users and holders at a more user level, but also at a company level.
Neil, there's also a question here about the line. It says that Squirrel says, I don't like at all that the space tether level is lost over time. That's fatal. That's why he says he doesn't have B2M. I just want to emphasize that B2M missions don't expire. In other words, it's an added value that it has, a utility that it has, that if you have B2M, those missions don't expire. In other words, evidently the expirations that currently exist, bit by bit as you continue, interacting with the mission, you will gradually be renewing and extending the durations of those expirations over time.
You got it. This is one of the main and pivotal points of what we were saying before, the importance of B2M in Space Center. Not just what we said before helps you increase levels, achieve high levels, but they don't expire. Can't lose a level if achieved through purchasing and maintaining B2M. So it's another key point in this sense. And finally, as for the right side where we see the slides, it's something we've never done before, and we've started implementing it a bit, and the most active users will have seen it. But it's going to be a practice that we're going to implement in a fairly organic and regular way in the long term, which is exclusive and early access, not only to products and services, but also to small properties and small functionalities of some products based on the level of Space Engineer or B2M. The clearest example is, for example, B2Me tags can only be acquired if you're level 1 or higher at Space Center. So we're adding one more functionality, one more advantage. We see cases like graphic functionalities and small details in Wallet, which you can only access if you are also level 1 or higher. So we are also exclusively providing data and information to the users who utilize the Space Center. And lastly, an example, well, two examples.
One outlined here and another one I will transmit to you. The one not yet implemented, but we are figuring out how to develop it, is the prioritization in support attention.
What does it mean? Naturally, we are extremely proud of our support team. We firmly believe that we consistently deliver a prompt and fairly precise response to all the requests we receive. And as I said, we're very pleased about that.
We believe it is a very important value for the company. But if we want to add a prioritization system, which means we will respond to everything, of course, but based on your B2M quantity, your Space Center level, you will be able to move up a few steps in that list of requests or support tickets that have been generated.
So you also have that advantage of exclusivity within this part. And another example I wanted to give, which is not reflected here because it is more theoretical, but in order to better convey this exclusivity that we were talking about, or these exclusive points, is that, for example, at the Launchpad level, Although from B2M and Space Center, we do not define when there will be a next launchpad or when it will be. We leave that to the launchpad team, which I consider appropriate. What we can transmit from the Space Center and B2M is that we are working with said team so that when new projects are launched, users at certain levels can receive airdrops from that token that we are going to launch completely free of charge without the need to participate in the launchpad. I mean, just by being level 4, one of your advantages is that when there's a launchpad, you get X number of coins or tokens from that launchpad. These are the small things that we think will be highly useful and valuable at all levels of the Space Center. Next point already. The next point, we already have news from B2M.
There are 3 important news, and then there is a smaller one. Important news.
The initial one was something we had in mind because ultimately, as it was well commented, we had holders in that network who wanted to enter B2M and benefit from the utilities linked to B2M within B2M.
So starting next week, from next Monday, during Monday the 18th, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to open that B2M entrance through B2C. There's not much else to say here.
This is something that has been requested for a long time as well. A bunch of people were asking for it, and I think this also opens the door to future developments, collaborations, etc.
Following B2M Blockade. This is something that Temo utilized to do as well, you know. Here I'm going to go a little bit slower in terms of small points to comment on. Basically, the B2M Blockade. The first thing I'd like to mention is what was done to analyze or define this proposal. It was having thousands, literally thousands of B2M holders to whom we sent an email asking for a questionnaire form. Here I take the opportunity to comment on the great response we had in terms of valuable contributions, constructive feedback, potential improvements, and more. Personally, the B2M team at Space Center liked it so much that we're going to keep doing it. To clarify, if you all appreciate that and feel at ease, proceed, because we are extremely receptive and anticipate sending you messages and emails and such, because we genuinely value your involvement and your thoughts. So we will repeat this process with new initiatives that we have planned. But having said that, in the end, the B2M Blockade had more, almost 90% of the responses were in favor of it being done. So we saw that it was a sure bet. And from here on, the different features are that there will be 3 different pools, okay? There will be 3 different types of lockdowns, namely 3, 6, and 12 months in duration. Despite over 50% of the respondents expressing a preference for a 12-month lockdown, we believe that this duration may be excessive for users who are willing to block, but not for such an extended period of time. So for those users, and also for a single user like myself or anyone else, to better diversify those blocking times, part of their portfolio, part of their balance, we are going to read the 3, okay? 3, 6, and 12 months.
The APIs we are going to provide for each of those pools are flexible. Why?
Because they keep coming out of a pool that we generate ourselves, which currently, as we can see in the bottom right corner of this presentation, is currently 150 million. What we're going to do at B2Me is add another 100 million to make sure we have APIs that they make sense, 100 million that come out of the reserve, but that we will also be able to obtain from the modification of some current B2M utilities that inject B2M into the market in perhaps an inefficient way, which we will see in the following weeks how we are changing and modifying, which is also something that you have transmitted to the community that you did not see quite well how B2M was being injected or who it was directed to when it was not a token holder, so to speak. So here we are going to make that increase in the pool, and those APIs are going to be flexible for that reason. What we can assure at the API level, there is no fixed API, of course, because as I said, it depends on the funds that enter those pools. But we can assure that there will be an incremental API directly based on your Space Center level and lock time. What does this mean? The lowest application programming interface, API, is going to be the one that has the funds in a flexible API, in a flexible pool, because the flexible pool will still be there where you can withdraw and deposit B2M as you wish. It's going to be level 0, flexible pool, lowest API, because in the end, it's the least incentivizing and provides the least benefits for users.
A lockup pool of 12 months combined with level 7 represents the highest API. Do you understand?
And based on these 2 limits, there's going to be an increase. Since that's 0, well, the levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then the 3-month lockup pool, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so incrementally until we achieve our desired objective, which will be the launch of an application programming interface, API. Clearly, the launch APIs, when they are these farming pools, then fluctuate based on the funds. We want to have a launch API that ends up being, for level 7 with a 12-month lockup pool, over 50% API.
We will see if it is feasible. And like I said, we will see if at the time of launching it, the B2M deposit causes those application programming interfaces to fluctuate significantly. That is our goal.
Now, Nigla, there's a really, really good question that Javier Cuevas asks us. Can you unlock it before the date with any penalty?
On this topic, there is a really good question, and we are evaluating what that scenario could potentially be. What we can confirm is that we are indeed going to allow you to unlock it ahead of time. It's something that we're also considering and that we also asked in that survey we did. And the vast majority of you did say, wow, I know it's going to be because of a penalty. Because if I withdraw it without any kind of penalty, it's like there's no lock-in. It's like it's another more flexible pool. So I comprehend that there is a penalty, but I would still like to have the option to withdraw. So we obtained that. We understand it. It makes sense. So we are currently looking into what that penalty should be. When we launch it, we will definitely let you know how it's done.
To know when this is going to be, just stay until the end of the show. We have it there. Neil has prepared some. And what's next? And when is he coming? So you guys have an idea of all this.
Yes, because I know that sometimes there are, or often people ask, when are these things going to be done? I want it to be very clear when we plan to do each of these.
Actually, Manuel Reyes has already asked that. I mean, that's why the comment was also coming.
To conclude this crucial point also, both currently, whether during the launch or possibly later, we'll observe regarding our development capacity, we'll implement it as a Space Center mission. What is the significance of that?
We're going to give points for those blocked B2M, and that does two things. One thing is that the weight of B2M at Space Center, if it was already big, as we've been saying for the last few minutes, it gets even bigger because you can earn points for both the current mission and the blockade mission, which almost doubles the weight of B2M inside Space Center, which is fantastic. But also those users who didn't quite fit with B2M's mission because of the FIFO system we had, what they can do is take part of their funds, lock them, secure those points that also don't expire. As long as funds are blocked, points do not expire, which is also positive. And with leftover B2M that you have decided to consider having, you can do whatever you want with using B2M and the like without being afraid of FIFO part, because you will already have your points secured, let's say, with locked part. I also think it's important to highlight it.
Neil, another very interesting question JC De Jurado asks us, will the increase in APIS be only for B2M or for all ARC currencies?
Of course, the API increases are only for B2M because in the end, it depends on us that when in the future, there might be a system very similar to this one of multi-pools with different locking pools and such in EARN's own product with different currencies. We'll see. But now we're discussing B2M, and it's the sole currency where we can have a bit of impact at the API level.
All right, another Gladiator question asks, and when do you receive the reward for the blockade? In this case, actually, Diego is responding to the Hitch Yellow logical community, maybe when the lockdown is over.
Well, this is also a very interesting question. And in the end, these are details, both this one and the planning one, that we are thinking about, because being very open and transparent with you, we are considering whether to give it on a daily basis or on a weekly basis so that you can choose to receive it before that blocking time ends or not.
Or as this user was saying, whose name I can't remember right now, let it stay in that pool. Let it be like a compound level, which is what we have now in the ADD section. And when they are released, release everything, both the initial capital, let's say, as well as the initial BDSM and the generated API.
Is that going to be consulted with the community, or is it something that is being debated internally?
This is internally. We can also consult it using survey formats and such. But with the surveys we did, they already gave us a ton of information and a ton of value. And from there, we are working internally. Awesome.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, let's keep going. We continue with the latest big news from B2M, which is what we've called the B2M Holders Week. What would be here the week of the B2M Holders? What is that? This concept is born to reward the loyalty of our oldest token holders who have told us that many times they would like to have some kind of incentive just for the B2M they have. which makes a lot of sense. So we're going to implement this idea proposal, which is 1 week per month. Those B2M holders are going to have exclusive advantages without doing anything. In other words, by signing up for the promotion, let's say, without making any additional purchases or any kind of activity or B2M movement, just by the B2M you have, you get rewards. All right, let's get started in this case. We're going to kick off this first B2M Holders Week next week, also on Monday. And during that week, there will be 2 types of winners, which is what we show here in the middle of the presentation. Those B2M holders who have a minimum of 10,000 B2M in their balance for the last 6 months will be eligible for a promotion.
Individuals with a minimum of 50,000 B2M in the previous 12 months will be eligible for an additional promotion. Is that okay?
If you enter both, do you stick with the one for a period of 12 months?
To clarify, are you referring to the previous 12 months or the upcoming 12 months?
Latest. This is all to reward our loyal token holders. I mean, those who purchased 6 months ago, 12 months ago, those people who already have more than 50,000 B2M for the past 12 months and who, let's say, without needing any additional action, get a week per month with advantages completely free of charge.
The people who have been with us for so long, Giovanni, you being there and having told us in so many places, well, you guys start to have that, and it starts from March 18th, which is coming up, and the week of the 18th starts the 3rd. Perfect.
That's right. It really is that. In fact, I've been using that a lot recently, and we highly value the people who have been loyal to us as B2M holders for a long time, since the ICO, etc. Now, question and clarification. So an individual who purchases more than 10,000 B2M tokens before Monday will be excluded from the eligibility criteria, right?
I'll repeat the question again.
Because it says it's for a minimum of 6 months. Someone who wants to buy more than 10,000 B2M is not completely excluded from wanting to participate on the 18th next Monday.
Sure, in the end, the promotion takes into account 2 variables. If you don't meet one of the 2, you're out. In other words, if your B2M amount is 300,000, but you obtained them during the last 3 months, you're out. It has to be at least 10,000 for at least 6 months. What I also wanted to mention is that, as you mentioned before, Giovanni, this idea came up because what we wanted from the Space Center and B2M team was to test how the community would react to having something without doing anything, which was the higher level of the old promotion. We said, if you are already a token holder of at least X B2M just by signing up, we will give you 1 more level for a week or 2. And we saw that the response was fantastic. And we said, dang, let's try to format this into something much more standard. And so this week, every month came out.
That's awesome. I really liked what you just came up with. So in order for me to participate in that promotion, that reward of B2M Holder Week, do I have to sign up somewhere? Or just the system?
Yes, that is a genuinely intriguing point. In the end, all of these campaigns and things obviously entail extra work for the team to handle and all of that sort of stuff. Our plan as the Space Entry B2M team is to be transparent. We'll start implementing all the tasks we've committed to for Space Entry B2M. We'll develop this at the product level, while campaigns in the coming months will be done at the communication level.
What does it mean? That you will receive an email, you will receive an in-app notification, you will receive messages, and you will have to actively sign up on a landing page, okay?
On a page, you'll have to sign up how I want to participate here. In the next short term, for example, if we see that the user's response is really good and that the token holders appreciate these initiatives a lot and really like them, we're going to try to develop some kind of system so we can avoid that. Let it be literally press a button in the app, for example, and you're already joining.
Or like so.
But we prefer, and I'll be as honest and transparent as possible, we prefer to focus our resources on those utilities, those new advantages, benefits, B2M blocking, what we have been discussing, while this is moving more towards signing up for landings and such. And maybe in the medium term, consider product level incorporation.
They are trying to Enil in chat. They will ask you to come back more, it seems to me.
Volta, says Anil, I love you. So clarifying this, in order to participate today, to participate in these promotions and these rewards for this week, it will be necessary to sign up. It's crucial they remember that, because if they don't sign up, even if they meet criteria, they can't participate.
And please, since you're mentioning this, I would also like I know that everything happens to us, that sometimes we get confused or don't read everything and so on. But a problem we had in the last Space Center campaign was that some users didn't see that it was a temporary campaign. I mean, it was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever time it was. That, of course, if there are any doubts, we're going to answer them, whether it's the support team or Giovanni, the passengers and people from the community if they ask. But please understand that these are temporary campaigns. It is not like we are suddenly going to have this prize, let us say, for the remainder of our lives. It is something that occurs once every month. I have comprehended the information.
Understood, and it is logical.
How to join?
They're out there saying,
besides stating, okay, starting 18th, if you all want, let's proceed to next one. We're nearly there. No way, Jose.
Very interesting. I think it's really popular.
Almost there, and we're done. The second to last point, this is nothing new. This is just the one that we really want to emphasize a lot, what we were saying about community involvement. Just like I said, in the B2M blocking part, with those emails we send and with those surveys that thousands of people actually answer, which is fantastic, as well as through the feedback channel. That is acquiring additional strength, additional authority, additional individuals are participating. And we really use it a lot to validate things. I mean, it's not just about gathering ideas and implementing them. It's also about validating some things I already had in mind or the team had in mind. Seeing them highly voted in the feedback channel helps reaffirm it's something the user wants, our token holders want. I strongly encourage you all to participate. Obviously, we're still keeping an eye on Telegram and whatnot. And also comment that this is not planned, so we don't know when we can do it, but we are analyzing a bit what possibilities we have to give more weight and importance to the token holders in that feedback channel regarding their contributions and discussions. So like I said, there's no set date for that. We're still analyzing the possibility of that, but it's a goal for B2M holders to have more influence in this important channel for us.
it's awesome. In fact, that has also been part of some of the proposals directly in the B2Me feedback tool. They wanted that for the B2Me holders to have more value, more weight in their proposals. Very cool. The truth is that it is a truly great day. In fact, Volta was just informing us here that you are doing an excellent job of announcing and explaining many of the things we were inquiring about.
So that's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, ultimately, it's the goal. Ultimately, we have an active community, and I think we should use it. In short, it's an engaged community that knows what it wants, communicates clearly with us, and we should leverage it within our abilities, also in our own contexts.
Because sometimes it also has to be clear that the utilities and everything we develop at B2M Space Center have to make sense and have a balance for the user and for the company. We always try to ensure that balance is met.
And I believe, well, the quality of what we have in terms of the presentation is pretty good in that sense. So finally, before the roadmap part, let's say those next steps that Javier mentioned, we have a small point, which is the internationalization of B2M, that international presence. Here, essentially, this arises because the issue of regulation in the cryptocurrency sector has become increasingly important and attracted more and more interest. We are observing that numerous external entities and a significant portion of the external cryptocurrency community, including external B2Me, are approaching us as leaders or pioneers in this field. This is because many of us are considered a point of reference in terms of crypto edge security and reliability. So we've seen that we could have a greater international presence, both in terms of the benefits and capabilities, as well as the products and services that B2Me offers. Consequently, we've also recognized the importance of B2M and its usefulness within those products and services. So we're going to try to enhance that international presence through our social media networks. And also, hand in hand with that, we're going to ensure some liquidity in markets outside of B2Me, because you've also told us that you would like to be able to operate some of those B2M outside of the platform. So we will also focus on the DEX part, especially to have that liquidity in those markets. But we're also going to open up those lines. What I want to convey is that this is secondary.
What do I mean? That our main efforts are focused on the usefulness of B2M internally within the platform. Because, as I mentioned before, those numbers we saw in relative terms, that 50% conversion of token holders being more agile, that 9 times more benefited token holders, that ratio of token holders versus users is getting bigger and bigger.
We aim to improve that in order for anyone who enters B2Me to perceive the potential of B2M, observe its uses, witness its utilities, and make the decision to become a token holder. Not only become a token holder, but also increase B2M balance for more advantages. Main goal, achieve massive adoption entry from crypto for maximum leverage, while working in parallel to ensure success and capitalize on opportunities. In this NATL presentation, as I was saying.
Neil, two things. Obviously, yeah, for sure. Example, Javier Cueva, us, they say they're missing the awards. It also tells us from Montserrat. And I just wanted to do one. They tell us that, of course, yes. Some folks ain't on board with it. The group's rules about Telegram and coexistence. Among the rules is that it's not allowed to debate. Don't even consider speculating on B2M price. We can discuss Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies prices. We always prioritize delivering value, enhancing services by listening to the community. We are not going to get involved in that kind of stuff at any point in time. That is why it has been included in the group rules, and it is just a matter of following the rules. That is it. And we can improve the services, any constructive criticism, improvements, possible incidents. We can assist the entire community, including the administrators, moderators, and the users. So just like that, and the awards are not in attendance.
Correct. The awards from the weekly publication, right?
Yes, I will leave this part in this location, let us say. With this action, we are already clarifying any uncertainties. Before addressing questions and announcing prizes, I usually mention that in terms of next steps, we want a big chunk of the points we've mentioned to be wrapped up by the end of this month and implemented. Let's give ourselves a 1-month buffer for any potential errors that may arise, but this is the goal, and that during Q2, that is the second quarter of 2024, everything else, call it lockdowns, new missions, new benefits, we also have it implemented. Certainly, if it is possible to schedule it in May, prior to June, or in April prior to May, there is no problem at all. That is our intention, but it should be completed during this second quarter of the year. And also, before answering questions and announcing the prizes, I want to convey that from the B2M part of Space Center, we obviously want to thank all those who have been token holders for a long time and those who have recently become token holders in general for the trust placed in us, for the benefits you see, for the use that is given to the token through that purchase and maintenance, for having those advantages, which we see every day, all the use that is given by levels to the different products, which is fantastic. And most importantly, I believe we could accomplish this type of live broadcasts featuring news coverage. I had planned to go and do the next one at the end of quarter 2, seeing a little bit of all this that we have discussed that we were going to implement. What is the status? What is the impact? What is the adoption? And discuss the next updates. If you guys think it's a good idea to do something like that. And we continue to be very attentive to your comments. We continue to implement new features. We continue to modify those that are already implemented due to changes in market context, due to the use that the token holder itself gives, and we will continue working on it. Here you can see some of the cast. We'll leave it here for now while we clarify doubts by the end of Q1 or Q2.
Well, the truth is that it is fantastic. Congratulations, Neil, on the job well done, and also to the entire community for being there every step of the way. Let's answer some questions, but before that, even though there are quite a few people watching the live stream, we see that there are about half the number of likes. Please give a thumbs up to Neil and also to Giovanni if you want them to return soon with more updates and exciting news for sure. And if you guys want, Giovanni, let's start solving. Although we have already answered some of them, I'm sure there is some question out there that may have slipped our minds.
And I also take advantage of the fact that you're getting more likes. I would also say that if we ask for likes for Javi, so that B2M remembers him when he's in one of the interviews he does.
Nowhere to strike, hit.
I do not involve myself in your small jabs, my dear friends.
Nicely executed, nicely executed. No, it is evident. And in addition, it is suitable and provides complete coherence. The fact is, well, I was explaining to Giovanni and Anil earlier that the strategy or concept is for them to become interested in Bitcoin, familiarize themselves with this ecosystem, and then become more connected to the world. But it is true that when we talk about the company or talk about the projects, the tools we have, well, obviously B2M and Space Center, I believe it is one of the best services in the entire cryptocurrency market, without a doubt, and no other company is doing that with the whole community, not even close. I mean, I think it's worth mentioning and highlighting, and I will do it. So I'm all in, 100% committed,
Simply excellent. Before the rewards, I wanted to address something that some users were saying about being silenced or banned in the Telegram group. If they have broken the rules or if they think it hasn't been like that, they can open a support ticket. They will pass it on to the administrators and moderators. And if possible, they will rehire him without any problem. As we've said, we're open to constructive criticism, system improvements, and new utilities. So welcome everyone who comes to contribute. So we'll be delighted.
Well,
I know Giovanni, forgive Niels, yes.
that the awards that we have not said that they had given me here. All right, yes, my mistake. Let us go back a little in this case. In the first group, that group of 10,000 B2M for at least 6 months, it's €5 in wallet fees. So during the upcoming week, you can do whatever you want, and up to a minimum of €1 and a maximum of €5 generated in commissions will be refunded to you during the following week. This is the 10K B2M ones for 6 months. The ones for 50K B2M for at least 12 months instead of €5 are €10. It's double. It's kind of that first proposal. What we want with this is for us to discover or use and encourage the use of different products every month, such as cards, ads, and so on. And also a bit to diversify awards for user types we have, because not everyone will use cards, for example, that's a month. But it's also an invitation to use that product and others, just to say it and all.
If you guys want to know how it's going to be used, it would be a coupon not for eating, but for the commissions in any of the cryptocurrencies we have, or exclusively for V2M.
Not in any op, but it means it won't be implemented immediately. When you say you won't make the purchase, an STH negative will come up, but you'll be generating it, and the following WK, you'll get the corresponding refund.
Like until now with reward via my pay and so on.
See, someone who...
Yeah, sorry, Giovanni.
Yeah, go for it, go.
Antonio Martinez gets us going. Can you only buy B2M on B2Me?
Currently, yes, mainly. The thing is, as we've said, we're going to provide more liquidity to other markets, like we've said, those DEX, so that their users who are not part of the platform can acquire it. But it is true that mainly we focus on B2Me because that's where the B2Me utilities are. And so if we want B2M to be that powerful utility token, that crypto entity that we believe can be quite important for the next bull run and so on, in terms of regulation and trustworthiness and so on, well, yes, Bitdomini is the main point of acquisition and movement for B2M.
It has been a genuine pleasure. I extend my thanks to everyone once again. We will see each other in person very soon, next week. I believe we also have another program. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Giovanni. Big hug for all.
Thanks a lot. A hug. Thanks a lot.